Hey everybody and welcome. Welcome to FluxCon. It was so exciting to see you guys here. I hope you guys have enjoyed the morning. I think it was super fun listening to David and Daniel talk a little bit about some of the challenges we're facing and how we can work together more collaboratively. And that's some of what I want to talk to you guys about today. So I'm Madeline Duva, I'm the CEO of Fluxx. And it's just wonderful to see such an amazing group of innovators and leaders out here, and I really thank you all for coming. You all have different perspectives on what affects social change. And I think I've met a lot of you, either on the phone with video calls, in person, and I'm looking forward to meeting the rest of you that I haven't. But your perspectives are super important, and I think that the fact is we all have an equal seat at the table here, regardless of your area of focus, the size of your assets, or your geographic region. We are all one as a community here communicating. So as Corinne mentioned earlier, we have an incredible opportunity today to really practice true collaboration. And I'm looking forward to learning and growing with all of you guys. So I want to, I'm not up here to talk about myself, but I think it's important to share why I'm standing up here. I come from a firmly middle-class family. My parents were super active in local politics and local causes. My mom, she had a lot of kids, and you can see there, she had a lot of kids, and she was a school teacher, but she managed to be on every single board, whether it was for Morningstar raising money for kids for disability, or for, Institute of the Aging. She built the entire, the tennis courts and all the recreational things. And my father was a perennial councilman, and then one day he did make it to vice mayor, or as we like to call him, the mayor of Vice. And when I was little, I spent a lot of time distributing flyers for things and local causes before I really understood the importance of showing up. And when I was 6 years old, Dad piled everybody in the car with the family dog and our station wagon, and we drove from Boston to Florida, where we were going to have our new home. And he stopped in the Bronx on the way. So my father was a technologist, but he was also son of Italian immigrants. And he drove us through there, and he said, hey, look around. Not everybody lives like you do. And that left, that was hugely impactful for me and left a lasting impression. My caring about issues and people and all of those things is really bred in the bone of who I am. So volunteering, mentoring, and teaching entrepreneurship the world over after a successful exit over 10 years ago was my way of giving back. And so when the founders and the board came to me and said, would you step in, and asked me to step in at Fluxx that I'd been advising since 2011, I thought, this makes sense. Fluxx is a perfect blend of my passion to help and my operational expertise. And I do see it as a very awesome responsibility to serve all of the people in this room. My purpose is really to keep you all front and center, talking about user design and really doing that from the user perspective. And that to me is super important, to get all of your feedback to make sure we deliver the products and services that you need. So Fluxx was started 8 years ago in San Francisco, and every single day we ask, how can we create a better environment for giving? And I really mean we do ask that. It's actually painted on our wall at the office. So it's something that I look at every day and I take to heart. We live in a very pivotal time right now. Our industry is under much more scrutiny, and at the same time we're being asked to step up every day to fill in the gaps in social, economic, and scientific investments. You guys create theories of change to really help your grantees with frameworks to help them create the biggest impact. In a way, Fluxx is doing the same thing. We create a technology framework to help you guys better serve those grantees. So we're all mobilizing together to help get the right money to the right people at the right time. And that really beckons us to take a much broader view. We have to bring the donors, so the givers, the doers, and that framework together to the table so that we can really build the capacity of the entire industry. Our goal is really to democratize philanthropy so that everybody has access. So the doers to the funding, as well as you all to finding the right change makers to fund. We've built a software platform that serves both the grant makers and grant seekers, and we're proud of what we've done, but that's only Act 1. So what's next? There's an ongoing crisis here in Northern California that illustrates the challenges that we face and also how we can do things differently in the future. A year ago, if you were sitting in these exact same seats, you would have smelled the acrid smell of smoke. It felt like the entire North Bay was on fire. There was ash everywhere, smoke everywhere. It was really extraordinary and terrible. 3 counties, Napa, Sonoma, and Mendocino, were simultaneously engulfed in fire. And it created 100,000 evacuees, both animal and human alike. Suburbs burned to the ground literally in the first few hours of the fire. Farmland and woodland went up in smoke. Over 6,000 homes, countless businesses were destroyed, and over 42 people perished. Disasters weren't a one-time occurrence in 2017. When you look across just in the States, Puerto Rico, Houston, the Carolinas, Hawaii, the list goes on and across the globe. When areas are affected in an instant and you see all the rescue work on TV, that's not typically the stuff that you guys fund. You all fund the rebuilding work. It's both urgent and long-term. So a year from now, we're literally a year later from these fires. Help is still needed. Contaminated water is preventing buildings and homes from being rebuilt. Schools have not been repurposed. You have people that are displaced, and they will continue to be displaced for months and years to come. Government agencies don't have the money to solve all of these problems. And all of these changes that are happening across the globe are really pushing and demanding for nonprofits and foundations to even step up all that much more. And donors are eager to help. And when you see stuff on TV, you're texting to send money, all of those kind of things, but our response is often to donate to the ones that are best known, these national, large nonprofits to do the work, rather than the folks that are best able to really solve the problems that are needed at the local level. And I think that happens with foundations too. You tend to focus on the people that you know, the relationships you've built, and instead of seeing the ones that are struggling to show their local expertise. So to give you my own experience of that, when I saw these fires, I wanted to do something. So I had some friends that were EDs up there and calling friends, what can we do? How do we help? Where do we donate? And what I learned was a lot of the people were actually not, because they were rushing to help the people in the fires, all of the food banks, the stuff was bare. So I ended up giving a lot of money to a couple of different organizations up there that were feeding just a chronic problem that we have of people that have food insecurity. But those things, it's only because I did a ton of research, I live in the community, I asked people that knew. But how can we do that in a better way? And I want to give a nod out or a shout out to Tipping Point, because just the other day they announced they finally have dispersed all of the $34 million that they raised last year for the fires. That's simply incredible and really a wonderful thing for the community. And they've supported all local organizations to do that, which I think makes a greater impact. So if you fast forward a few years, I'm super optimistic. I think things will work differently, and I think they're going to be better. Disasters happen all the time, and they're going to continue to happen. But how we show up can and must change. And those changes also need to be addressed toward every problem that we're facing, whether it's poverty, fighting for social justice, or trying to take care of the environment. So how could these things have played out differently? Well, let's imagine it. Let's imagine you guys can find the best change makers on the ground super easily. Imagine change makers can find the right foundations for whom they are a fit. Imagine nonprofits with established profiles that has all of the information and compliance stuff that you need to know to make your decisions so that you can make them more quickly. Imagine a grants management system for the grantee who needs to actually track funds from many of you, right? So now instead of logging into 50 different portals, here they go into one spot. They can assign tasks to teammates, they can report back onto grants to all of you at once, and even to social media at the same time. How do we help facilitate all these things that the folks that you're enabling need? Imagine not being as swamped as you are today. I know everybody always feels overburdened, there's more stuff to do, and even though there's more money coming in, it's a problem and it's hard to deal with all of the changes. You guys define metrics for success. Imagine the grant seekers being able to tell you what they think is the most important thing. So yes, you have that macro view, and that's fantastic, but they're the feet on the street, and they actually know what's impactful that you may not know about. So imagine them reporting in real time in a way that, just like you know where your Uber or Lyft driver is, you can track their progress as they go. Accountability and collaboration can be ongoing, which is really going to transform how we work. And instead of looking at something at the end of 6 months or 12 years, you can course correct or double down. You know, as Daniel was saying this morning, if somebody's doing really well, double down on that. Make more impact. So Fluxx has been working on this future, and we want to work with you to help make this unfold. In this new world, we can all collaborate more together. More easily, we can see where help has been provided or where it's needed. This is bigger than one foundation. It's calling on all the foundations to work together in overlapping areas, but also those nonprofits with which you share a common cause. This creates a virtuous circle. More capacity, more visibility, more collaboration. Each bolsters the other. The results turn out to be a really transformative benefit for that, and that's better outcomes. Because if you're collaborating and revising plans as you go, you're going to get better results. And that means the right money gets to the right people at the right time. So it doesn't matter what cause you're focused on, the need for action in philanthropy is always urgent. Whether you're responding to a wildfire, battling poverty, fighting for social justice. Every day that you guys can't move forward, people suffer. So it's not really just about making your work easier, it's about helping more people, helping them better, and helping them now. It's about doing more good and leveraging that good across the entire ecosystem. That future is super exciting to me, and it's why I'm here, and it's really what Fluxx wants to build for you. We can and will get there because we have to. The world is changing in front of us. Policies are changing. Immigration is changing. The climate is changing. Public sector can't keep up, and in some cases, they're actually the cause. So again, even though your stock, the stock market's going up, your funds might be getting larger, the more and more of these changes that happen, it puts more pressure on you to actually deliver to your grantees. And as a tech company, we tend to be ahistorical. We look at the present and we try and conjure the future, and that's all great. But for philanthropy, your history matters to the future of philanthropy. Your institutions were built on principles and steeped in experience, and you understand a lot of the structural issues and root causes, like Daniel and David were talking about earlier. Some of the new ones don't always understand. You can't just do one little thing. There are other pieces in the puzzle that work together. You can't just educate someone. There are other structural issues. You all understand that and what we face and these challenges. And we need to preserve that experience, learn from it, and leverage it in this new world. So to chart the future, we really must appreciate the past. As you all know, philanthropy means the love of humankind, and it's been around for thousands of years. In 2500 BC, the ancient Hebrews created a tax or a tithe to benefit the poor. In 347, Plato said, hey, look, when he died, he bequeathed it to his nephew and said, you need to use these proceeds to support the students and the professors of the academy that I built. And the history in the United States of philanthropy is a super storied one. You had the first fundraising in 1643 was with Harvard, raising money, right? You had Ben Franklin, who created the junto, to all work together to create social good. From Peabody to Carnegie to Ford to Rockefeller to MacArthur. American millionaires often came from immigrant families and impoverished upbringings. And even though they felt like they had the right to the money they worked hard to earn, they understood the plight of millions of Americans that were growing up in a society in which they became rich. They felt like, because they knew people in high places, they were in a unique position to help make these changes. But these philanthropists had the same questions you did. Who should I work with? What are the best ways to help? How do we know my money is being used wisely and for good? Andrew Carnegie, a lot of people see him as the father of modern philanthropy. And he had in the Gospel of Wealth his treatise for successful giving. And like many of the donors today, he gave away a lot of his money during his lifetime. Why? Because he wanted to keep an eye on it. He wanted impact reporting, just like you guys do. In the past few decades, new generations have taken philanthropy to new heights and new directions. And in fact, 70% of the foundations today were created in the last 25 to 30 years. And it's wonderful to see this tradition of problem solving grow and flourish. Zuckerberg, Benioff, Gates represent this new philanthropic class, the high net worth individual whose wealth comes from tech. So when you're looking at the present day, these people are making billions of dollars. They're not the millionaires of the earlier 19th century and 20th century. These people are making billions. And there are 2,200 billionaires right now, and their collective net worth is over $9 trillion. That's a whole nother issue that we could spend a conference talking about and what they could do. But many are becoming philanthropists, and that's a good thing. 50 of the top ones gave away $15 billion collectively last year. So that's a lot more money coming into the system. But this new breed of donors sees room for improvement. They want to apply methods of Silicon Valley to the problems. And that is super exciting because you've got, as philanthropy steps in the 21st century, you've got all this great new money coming in, and you have all this great new advances in technology. Machine learning and AI, and they're going to uncover new opportunities and new approaches to problems. But we have to be careful. You can't leave these things in a black box. We have to have transparency into how these tools were made, because innovation often fails to distribute progress broadly. And so these things we need to care about, and we need to change that. So Fluxx is creating a network that builds the capacity and brings all parties to the table in an accountable and democratic way. That's our vision at Fluxx, to democratize philanthropy. The current infrastructure lacks capacity because what happens is funds flow through established channels because that's what people do with the capacity that they have. We need to level that playing field so that everyone has access. Then funds can flow to the people that are best positioned on the ground to make the impact that we all in this room want to see happen. So we built a platform for both grant makers and grant seekers, but we're involving that now into a philanthropy network. It's proven in tech, and I think in other places, when many people need to connect quickly to solve a mutual goal, networks make things better. A network isn't about connecting machines, it's about connecting people. The more people that are on a network, the more valuable it becomes for every single person on that network. And the more valuable it becomes, the more people want to join it. So that's the network effect we talk about in Silicon Valley, this virtuous circle of what happens when more and more people work together and work collectively. So the power is not in economies of scale, but in the astronomical connections that can happen with all of the people that are on that network and the power that that can bring. You're actually familiar with most of the private networks that are happening today that have been changing the world we live in right now. For instance, Uber owns very few cars, if any, and it connects drivers and riders. If you look at Airbnb, they don't own a hotel, yet they connect hosts and guests. Facebook does not employ one journalist, sadly, but they are the world's largest media company. So we want to bring the positive aspects of this network effect to philanthropy. So simply put, our aspiration at Fluxx is that we hold no funds, yet we're the largest channel of charitable giving. Last year alone, $5.2 billion went through this platform in 1 year. And that was given from the people in this room to these nonprofits. That is simply amazing. This network has already started, right? You're already connecting with those folks. And networks also occur naturally, whether it's a geographic area, a region, affiliations, or common causes. Our vision is to amplify exactly that, the connection between and amongst givers and doers. Not just some, but ideally all of them. So what do we need to do to get there? We're building for today and the future. Christy's going to talk about the product vision and how we're better together. We're adding features to build the capacity of the work you do, to give you more visibility into the data and enhance the collaboration between your staff, other funders, and grantees. I'm super excited for Sonia to walk you through all of this and talk about it in detail, particularly on reporting. I won't steal her thunder, but it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. Getting data into a system is half the battle, but it's only half of it. Getting that data out is the other half. And we are committed to delivering the reporting and insights you need. So again, I won't steal her thunder. I'll let her talk about it. But I think you'll be excited. We heard you. You helped us get where we are, and we need your help to get where we're going. So I want to thank you for the candid feedback and the continued support. All of these advancements that you're going to see later today build on this vision of a philanthropy network that leverages these powers of connection. But let me give you two concrete examples of that. One, you all have foundation portals, and that's great. And they're going to work just the way they do today. But we've created a single sign-on because the grantees are having to remember countless numbers of folks, countless numbers of URLs and passwords in order to get these things. I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, the grant makers on the East Coast, and we couldn't get them, we didn't know the password, and we missed the deadline. Not a good thing. This bogs down their capacity and it impedes their visibility. So that single sign-on is built to address that. This gives them a way to work with every one of you together and see that across the board, but also even funders that are not on the Fluxx platform, because they don't just work with you, they work with other folks as well. So this single consistent view of every step in the process is going to help build their capacity. And at the end of the day, that helps you. It helps you collaborate with them better, communicate in real time, and at the end of the day, they're going to be able to actually get to the work that you're funding them to do. The second piece is that Fluxx as a network will have more collaboration tools that will let everyone leverage their connections. So tools not just for the grant makers to work with each other, like dashboards and sharing those, and not just with the grant seekers to the grant makers, but with the foundations to collaborate with each other, because I think that's super important. Again, you do that to some extent, but a lot of times people say, I wonder who else is funding this? I know a couple of them, but who else is funding this grantee? Collaboration creates efficiencies. The result is data-driven insights, more capacity, more visibility, more collaboration to get the right money to the right people at the right time. This is super serious work, and we at Fluxx are up for the challenge. Look, when I talk about those things, capacity, visibility, collaboration, you're going to hear it throughout the day and tomorrow, they're not just platitudes. These describe problems and hurdles that we deal with every single day. And addressing them is how we take philanthropy into the future, a connected future, a network. We are, all of us, working toward that future. The network isn't Fluxx, it's you. This network, a network of people, will do so much good for so many people around the world. I'm super excited to work with all of you to build this future. And when you look back, not too far in the distance future, on today, you're going to realize that you were the pioneers of philanthropy connected. Thank you, everybody.